What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. We are broadcasting to the world live from Phoenix, Arizona. Today, we're going to take a look at the aftermath of the Bryan Kohberger trial. I had to take a few steps away. I was a little repulsed by the man, if we can even call him that. Really only skimmed through the documents. I did grab a few items in case you guys wanted to dive in to any of that. But we're basically just going to kind of summarize all the information that's been released post-gag order. And that's what you can expect from today's live stream. But honestly, guys, I'm going to be leaning on you a lot for all the information, all the updated information post-gag order and the trickle of information that's been coming out after the sentencing hearing. So feel free to go ahead and flood the chat with anything that you think wasn't released to the public but has now been released to the public that might be of interest for today's live stream. Good to see you, CJK, She Warrior. Patty, what up? Eli, good to see you. Miss Dog Lover. And Jari. Don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already subscribed, do it now. And please participate in the poll question. Today's poll question is, what's the key unanswered question in Kohberger's case post-gag order? Why did he target the victims? Where is the murder weapon? What's in the sealed files? Why spare the roommates? Okay, today is Friday, July 25th, 2025. It's about 12:15 here in Phoenix. Where are you guys all at right now? Let me know in the chat where you guys are watching from. Shout out to Boston, Oklahoma. Beth, what's going on? Beth, big up to Central Florida. Miss Dog Lover says, where is the murder weapon? And the second murder weapon used on Kaylee. I'm very interested in this container. You think that's just a misrepresentation or a bad recollection of what she actually saw? Could that have been a big knife kind of at a weird angle? Maybe it looked like a container, the silhouette. Or did he actually take a trophy, London. Shout out to London, Indiana. I got a lot of Indiana folks who watch my channel because of the Delphi murders. I'm telling you guys, Sleuth Crew, we're everywhere. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated. Been running around all morning. All right, so some of the things that we're going to get into, and like I said, everything is going to be post-gag order. I had to take a step back from this case. I know, the release of information, a lot of you might have been depending on me or hoping that I would go live. But honestly, guys, I just needed a break from the guy. I mean, the dude was pure evil. You know, just needed like a moment of silence. You know what I mean? But we're back. And tell me what I missed. Beth says, I was shocked when they disclosed the autopsy findings. He's a monster. Yeah, for me, it was the rage. You know, I did read I've read some, been looking into it pretty much all of last night and some this morning. But the violence and the anger and the rage. Um, and that's what most psychopaths who are willing to talk, who have been incarcerated for similar crimes, that's usually how they explain it. They say, well, what happens? Like, have you been angry your whole life? They say, no, it's not anger. Like, this is rage. Like, what do you mean rage? Like, does it build up? And they're like, no, it's like a light switch. You know, you just flick it on and then you black out. Pure rage. Now, in my opinion, that rage comes from trauma. So I'm wondering what's going on with all that. Like, who traumatized this guy? And then another thing I want to touch on, and we can talk about any of it, but these are just a few of the items that came up for me, was his obsession with his mother and the roommates who basically said he just sat on his tablet all day talking to his mother nonstop. That's some Norman Bates shit. Olivia shut him down big time. J Ray, what up? Wait, I just got here. Thought I saw a poll, but now it's gone. Did you take it down or did I mess something up? Well, the truth is I blocked some people from the poll because I didn't want them skewing the results. You know, there's certain people, even though I love them to death, they're extremely biased. So I block them from the poll. Just kidding. Pitbull Mom, Bloomington, what up? Bloomington in the house. Tam Beat. What are you doing in the hospital? Had to get, yeah, there you go. Damn, girl. So what they do? Have to cut you open? Appendectomy. What happened? Your appendix, what did it do? Burst? Hang in there. We'll be praying for a speedy recovery. Don't let them steal your kidney. Jari says he seemed to be paying very close attention to what everyone was saying as far as impact statements went. Well, all he has left are his fantasies. And you got to remember, whether Kohberger realizes it or not, he's a Satan worshiper. That's what he's doing. He's doing the devil's work. So when it comes to the devil, everything is reversed, right? Good is bad, bad is good. So while they're giving their victim statements and trying to attack Kohberger, everything that they're saying is a compliment to him, right? The bigger monster you are in hell, the greater praise you're going to get. So all they were telling him is, you're like this vicious monster, you're an animal, nobody loves you, blah, 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 blah. You know, all these things that are true and are important for them to get off their chest. But to a Satan worshiper like Bryan Kohberger, and I don't care if he's aware of his Satan worship or not, you know, talk is cheap anyway. His actions prove to me that he worships the devil, his father, the devil. So all of that was just compliments, right? They're telling him he's the star in his own horror movie, right? He's Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers. He's a big bad wolf. He went from being nothing, a nobody. This is everything that he wanted. And that's why I took at least 2 days. I took 2 days off of it. So I'm not touching Kohberger. I'm not going to give him what he wants. Wait, I thought I blocked you from the poll. Look, see, now all my results are getting skewed. Damn radicals. This is becoming a channel of radicals. Okay, in spite of this heat. Second murder weapon, but that's just the conclusion I've come to. Yeah, who knows? I mean, why would they say that? There must be some kind of bruising, repetitive shapes, something that's leaving a repetitive mark. But the amount of rage, like I was reading through these documents and I could just feel it, like it was radiating from the words. There's just so much. How did so much evil get balled up into one person? His strange connection with his mom. I don't know, guys. I don't know how to explain it. Like, how does something like this even happen? Hey, what's up, Boston? Truth is, the scariest part about you is how painfully average you turn out to be. Yeah, everybody needs to realize you are not special. All of you narcissists, I know that was like a knife to the gut. Like, we're all special, but we're not special, right? We're in this together. Thank you, Miss Doglover. Thought all the impact statements were good. Olivia, Steve's were very powerful. Also, best wishes. Who has appendicitis? It's no joke. Thank you, Miss Doglover. Laparoscopic, which is the less invasive. Yeah, that's how they fixed my hernia. Actually, I had 2 hernias. I thought it was 1, but when they went down, they were like, well, you got 2. We fixed 2. Appendix was about to burst, but caught it in time. What was it, like swollen? Inflamed or something? Well, hang in there, Tam B. Don't let them get you hooked on those painkillers. It's basically heroin. I mean, it is heroin. Okay, where do you guys want to start? Here, let me go. Let's just start from when they released the gag order. Maybe we'll try to keep it in chronological order. Okay, gag order lifted. July 17th, 2025. Judge Stephen Hippler vacated the non-dissemination order, citing the public's right to information as paramount, since Kohberger's guilty plea eliminated the need to ensure an impartial jury. The defense argued to maintain the order due to safety concerns for Kohberger and his family, but Hippler ruled that media frenzy would persist regardless. The bloodlust. Diener's like, yeah, the bloodlust. And lifting the order would not compel anyone to speak. That's true. I agree. And then we have the sentencing confirmation. We watched it live, July 23rd, 2025. He respectfully declined to make a statement. Apparently, he was drawing on a crossword puzzle. So that's why you see those other colors and all this other artwork, and it kind of makes it look like it's printed. Well, that's because a crossword puzzle is printed. But what he did was he took his black pen and he drew a giant dark heart right over the middle. And I believe that to be his statement. What do you guys think? You agree with that? I think that was his statement. Like, why did you do it, Bryan? Well, my heart it's just dark. Like, I have a black heart. I'm pure evil. I've hid it most of my life, but I couldn't hide it anymore. The beast was coming out. The demon wanted out, and I could no longer contain him. Like, that's his answer. Why did you do it? I'm just pure evil. Or it was a shout out to all those hybristophilic pro burgers, right? The gushers. Could have been a shout out to all the dark-hearted pro-burger weirdos out there, right? His little fan club, a tribute. Because you remember there was that one girl, she was like that. Remember that? In the back of the courtroom, she was making the heart. So I don't know what that means. So I think it might have been more of a shout out to his fans. Mark my words, guys, in the next 5 years, he will be married. And that's why Steve was so pissed. This motherfucker's going to live a life and do things and, checking off bucket list items. He's going to develop relationships. He's going to build on his education. And every time he does something new, it's like a slap in the face to the victims' families. J. Ray, you need a comfort blanket. Hey, what's up, Karen? Welcome in. Okay, so let's get back up. Sentencing confirmation, document release process. Hippler stated that over 240 sealed documents would be revealed for release in reverse chronological order. So I may have that link. I'm sure most of you have it. But if you don't and you want to go take a look at the documents for yourself, I'll make it easy for you. All right. So there is the document dump link for you guys. And it looks like they'll keep it updated. So big up to Franklin, Indiana. See, a lot of folks from Indiana. Shout out to Indiana. Tam B says, boy, that one lady brought it with her impact statement. Yes, I bet he's already getting love letters. He was already getting love letters, Tam B. We're beyond that phase. Like, he's probably already singled one out. Her name will be like Mousy or something. They're all going to have shaved heads. And then they'll leave a little spot in the back with a heart. Get them, get lined up. It's perfect. He might want to take his commissary donations and pay for some muscle for his 1 hour protection when in the yard. No. I feel like he's going to be an aggressive inmate. I feel like he's going to, I don't know. I don't feel like he's just going to burn out into the history books. I don't think we've heard the last of him. Some of the inmates were reporting that he was getting jumpy and like he wasn't afraid of any of them. He jumped up at one point and asked if they were talking about his mom or some shit. Like, the dude's crazy. He's paranoid. Paranoid schizo with like an uncontrollable narcissistic rage or some shit. All right, victim impact statements. So we had Jasmine Kernodle, that's Zaina's sister. She described Zaina as kind and funny and best friend to Minnie. Jeff Kernodle, Zaina's father, noted he was 7 miles away the night the murders, but didn't visit due to drinking. That's got to be tough. Scott Laramie, Madison's stepfather, said Madison brought joy and prioritized family. Karen Laramie, Madison's mother, this was read via an attorney. And Kim Cheeley, Madison's grandmother, thanked prosecutors. Ben Mogan, Madison's father, expressed relief at the plea deal, allowing closure. Yeah, you know what? Like, there's no way to prepare for something like this. You can't, there's no real answer. It's like it happened. It's kind of like a shark attack. Like, I mean, what do you do? Go kill all the sharks now? It's just like one of these horrible things. There's no explanation for what Kohberger is. There's no logic to it. We can try to understand it. I do believe there's some kind of trauma there. There's something's there. Um, Something took God away from him and allowed this darkness to enter in. Usually that's childhood trauma. So I'm very curious. Um, there's probably a crime there. Somebody might be responsible for a crime for whatever might have caused this wickedness in him. Rarely does it just happen, right? Pen pal. Yeah, he's going to find one. I guarantee it. He knew he was going to end up here, guys. All those college courses, the criminality, um, Ramsland, all of that shit was all for this very moment. He's not done. See, J Ray, that's not true. See, there's that bias I'm talking about. Super chat. Some of the news channels are getting their names wrong. So disrespectful. Shit, hopefully I'm not. I got some of this from CNN and CBS. So okay, and then we had Steve Gonsalves. Sorry, called Kohberger a complete joke and focused on the victim's legacy. Olivia Gonsalves called Kohberger a sociopath, psychopath, murderer, earring courtroom applause. Yeah, she was probably my favorite. It was good for her to be brave and to kind of like bitch slap him in a way. Kohberger declined to speak at the sentencing, leaving his motive undisclosed. Legal analysts noted no incentive for him to speak due to the fixed sentence. She Warrior. I heard on a news report that Idaho has no conjugal visits for maximum security and that he was going to the maximum security prison in Idaho. Yeah. I mean, we all wonder how Ted Bundy was Ted Bundy allowed conjugal visits? I thought he paid a guard and he let him like go around a vending machine or something. Yeah, it was tough, Karen. We watched it live. I called him a pedophile. Okay. Police investigation details. Moscow Police Department documents on July 23rd. Hours after sentencing, the Moscow Police Department released over 300 documents, many redacted. Okay, this is where it gets tough and very descriptive. But this is what I was referring to about the rage. Xana, her body had over 50 stab wounds and defensive wounds on her hands, indicating a struggle. So this is painting a picture of a man who is extremely angry. So where does this trauma come from? Like, how does that happen? Ethan Chafin was found next to her in a blood-covered room. So I wonder if he attacked Xana and Ethan is the one that's heard, "Don't worry, I'm going to help you." Not realizing that that son of a bitch is in all black and probably hiding in the shadows, maybe. And Ethan may have not even kind of even understood what was going on. Like, what's going on? What happened? Like, don't worry, I'm going to help you. Like, I'm here. Gailey Gonsalves was unrecognizable with over 20 stab wounds. Madison Mogan had wounds on her hands and arms, right? Defensive wounds, something you would typically see, when somebody's attacking with a knife and your arms are not tied. A knife sheath with Kohberger's DNA was found next to Mogan's body, a critical piece of evidence. One roommate heard Gonsalves scream around 4 a.m. saying somebody was in the house. She heard running from the third floor, locked herself in the room, and later heard a man's voice say, "You're going to be fine. I'm going to help you." So I would hate to believe that that's Bryan Kohberger. There's only two men in the house, right? It's Ethan and Bryan. I would hate to think that that was Kohberger saying something like that. Like, you'll be fine. I'm going to help you. But really just wanting to inflict more pain. She saw a tall, slim male in a black ski mask leaving via a second floor patio. Yep, carrying the weight of the family, always. Yeah, I know what you meant. I remember she said that. She didn't call him a pedophile, said he was like a pedophile. Hey, what's up, Grunch? I think it was Bryan that said that. He wanted to be as sadistic as possible. Yeah, I think it is possible that you're right. I'm like, oh, look at you. I'll help you. And then kind of doing like the evil laugh. It's the frog and the scorpion, you guys. It's the frog and the scorpion. You said you would not sting me, scorpion. But I'm a scorpion. You you had to know. But I trusted you. Well, that's your fault. I didn't read that part yet. Let's look at some of these pre-murder incidents. I think it was Gonsalves reported a stalker and saw a shadowy figure while walking her dog weeks before the murders. These incidents were not directly linked to Kohberger. But that's one thing that I think Kohberger learned, while studying under Ramsland, is the way that BTK, he had a system. He started with trolling, and then while trolling, he's looking for a target. And then once he finds his target, he begins stalking. And I feel like that might have been what Kohberger was doing. And then from stalking, it goes stalking the victim to actually breaking and entering and committing the crime. Miss Doglover, thank you. Olivia Gonsalves, you want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in the middle of the night like a pedophile, yep, like a pedophile, Kaylee would have kicked your fucking ass. That's true. You think Bryan Kohberger didn't think about that? You're just complimenting him. Like, it seems like you're devastating this guy, but he's like, oh, you're right. That's why I came in the middle of the night. I didn't get all dressed up to get my ass kicked. I got all dressed up to become the Red Dragon, the Great Becoming, the Pale Killer, the Pale-Faced Killer. He became Kohberger, the guy the President of the United States is commenting about. And we're having a live stream discussing how demented this dude is. Not only death row, Grunge, but the actual death penalty. Not this 20-year stretch on death row, but something very quick. He's already admitted to it. There's no appeal. Typically, well, I guess there would have been an appeal process if he would have been found guilty and sentenced to death, but yeah, I haven't even really gotten started. Just kind of skimming over it. Let's see. Kohberger's first interview, December 30th, 2022, conducted by Moscow Police, is it Captain Brett Payne and Idaho State Police Lieutenant Darren Gilbertson in Pennsylvania. Hey, what's up, Scorpio? Okay, Kohberger recognized Payne, expressed concern for his parents and dog, and engaged in small talk about baseball and the environment's relation to God. Now, remember, psychopaths have what is referred to as superficial charm. They know a quick little joke here and there. Kind of like Richard Allen when they told him, "Yeah, you're free to leave at any time," and he kind of acted like he was getting up to walk out of the office, but he had, he couldn't leave because, right, he's a psychopath. He's smarter than police, and he needs the information. He's going to get it from them, and he's going to leave unscathed, which he did that day. Okay, when told the interview was about the Idaho murders, Kohberger said, "Yes, of course, I know about the murders." But I think he wanted to remain silent after that. Like, yeah, I know all about the murders, but I'm going to go ahead and invoke the fifth. Yeah, Scorpio, what do you make of that? I bet you have your own thoughts on that. Another one obsessed with his own mom. What do you make of that? Sitting in his jail cell talking with his mom. I mean, if she was disgusted by her son and what he did, he's not going to want to sit there and listen to that. So that tells me that she forgave him. And I don't know, guys. What do you I would hate to blame her as being an ingredient of what he became. But when I see the support coming after the fact like that, that's a little bit disturbing. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. Is he able to express any kind of emotion? Yes, most psychopaths can if it's about them, right? If it's about their personal situation, they can sometimes even cry. Like, look what's happening to me. Oh my God, the world's crumbling on me. Well, what about your victims? Well, what about them? They'll say, like, what's that got to do with anything? Like, they're dead. They can't feel anything right now. You guys are causing me harm. So the only emotion is when it involves them, like a self-centered perspective. I think DM said in her interview that she heard Zaina crying in the bathroom and someone said, "It's okay. I'm going to help you." What do the documents say, Jerry? I don't think he had superficial charm. I think he came across as antisocial weirdo to police. I don't know. It said he was in there talking small talk. So I don't know. I'd have to see the video. I think if he was antisocial, he'd be more like a Stephen McDaniel. I think he is antisocial, but I also think that he's a chameleon. So he knows when to put the mask on and when to take it off. I didn't think a true sociopath or psychopath could feel compassion for animals either. Well, there's a certain type of sociopath and psychopath that feel something for just babies and animals, right? Humans don't mean anything to them, but for whatever reason, small children and babies, specifically infants and animals, they're triggered by that. They care more about animals than they do humans. Like a human, I don't care. They died. Oh, hey, it happens. Oh my God, you stepped on that little kitten's tail, and then their world crumbles. So there are different types of psychopaths and sociopaths. There's that type. According to Google, I was wrong. Well, it kind of reminds me of this episode in The Sopranos too. You remember where she was like talking about Tony? His therapist was talking about him to one of her colleagues, and she was saying, "Yeah, he's a true psychopath." Um, and then somebody asked him, "Well, what about his affinity for animals and babies?" And she kind of gave a good explanation about what type of psychopath Tony Soprano was. And the type that he was included a certain place in his heart for animals and infants, but humans he could just kill them without remorse. I think he took the plea to avoid the death penalty because his mom is so fundamentally against the death penalty. I don't know. I think her mom might have support for killers in general, because when she made that comment, it was in reference to Ted Bundy. Right. So I think she might be a big reason he is what he is today. Possibly. I don't. What do I know? It's just my opinion. I'm entitled to it. Take care, CJ. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the comments. BK is a total psychopath and should never see the light of day again. Very dangerous individual. Yeah. Well, obviously. Beyond dangerous. He's like pure evil. Scorpio was watching stuff about Elliot Rodger yesterday. Interestingly, we have also very into his mom. Yeah, I mean, he had a sick, deep hatred for women. They could never live up to his expectation. So I wonder if that's what happened when you have trauma as a child, and it's your mother that's kind of like your guardian angel. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe she's the one that, I don't know. I can't explain it. You know, sure, some of you out there can put your thumb on it, but he definitely had a pure hatred. Elliot Rodger, that is, for women. That's most incels, in my opinion. The reason that they can't form any relationships, normal relationships with women, is because they hold this unattainable image of what they need from a woman, instead of just becoming a friend with somebody and building a bond and learning about their upbringing and what makes them tick, right? And then finding that common ground and then creating new memories. They don't understand all that. They just have this hatred. It's all black and white for them. Let's see. Electronic evidence. I thought this part was very interesting. Yeah, unattainable, Boston. There you go. Unattainable. Unrealistic. Okay, electronic evidence. Kohberger wiped many of his devices before investigators could access them. So, how do they know he's not Papa Rogers? I'm sure they are, but how do they know that he wasn't somehow stalking them online? Let's say he's not Papa Rogers, but that is a good example. Um, how do they say that? But in the same breath, they say that his efforts to hide his digital footprint were effective. So, isn't it safer to say that you're not sure what he might have been doing online? Why is that so difficult for law enforcement? Everything is a salesman pitch, a sales pitch. Oh my God, the public is looking at us negatively. Maybe that affects their career. If the public is giving a certain investigator a hard time, like, does that mean that his higher ups are looking at him in a negative light? Or do they got his back, right? Like, fuck the public. They don't get it. They don't understand what we're doing. Hmm. Game of telephone is what I call that, J Ray. But I'll take your word for it. If it's a trusted source. Okay, so how did he cover his digital trail? Um, that's pretty sophisticated, and everybody used to call us kind of conspiracy theories when we would bring up this type of method or this tactic in the Delphi case, right? Maybe somebody was involved. Oh, we can't find any connections online to this, to that. I don't know. Maybe they had technical help. Maybe Kagan Klein had more technical knowledge and prowess than people gave him credit for. The murder weapon. An extensive search for the K-bar knife failed to locate. Apparently, all they did was soil samples. And if Kohberger was so smart, why did he leave a shovel in his car? Did you guys hear that? Apparently, they found a shovel in his vehicle and it had soil on it. That doesn't seem very smart. What about the subpoena for Tinder, right? And I think his Tinder name was Tickle Monster. Police issued a subpoena to check if Kohberger used Tinder, possibly to explore connections to victims, but no results were detailed. Jerry says, I sort of feel like his mom was obsessed with him more than him being obsessed with his mom. Well, I mean, think about it. His mom was into Ted Bundy, didn't want him to face the death penalty. That's weird, right? And his sister created a horror film. So what's going on? There's a lot of darkness over there. Do you think the murder weapon is in a river somewhere? I don't know. I feel like that might be too cliche for Bryan Kohberger. My gut, and I don't know. I feel like he did put something in a keepsake box and he has it somewhere. And somewhere down the line, one of his dark-hearted pro-burgers, he's going to give them the coordinates and they're going to go dig it up. He's going to tell them where it is. And then maybe they'll even go commit another crime with it. That's the kind of thing I feel like he will have planned out. He's planned this all out from the beginning, guys. And who knows where we are? Maybe this is just part one of what he's got in store. Right? You have to be careful. Maybe he's exactly where he wants to be. Thanks, Jari. And if you guys can't hit the Cash App, hit the like button, please. Jari says, I think it's buried somewhere. Yeah, I feel like he couldn't part with it. If he's going to bury it and separate himself from it, he wants to put it in a place where he can get back to it or use it to manipulate or, play cat and mouse with somebody down the line, maybe law enforcement. Like if you guys do me favors, when I need a favor, I'll start releasing the those types of pieces of information. What's up, Mark? Good to see you. Okay, let's talk about Kohberger's background and behavior. Former friend account. A Washington State University student, we'll call him L, described Kohberger as intelligent but selfish, often misleading others to do his work. As a teaching assistant, Kohberger inappropriately interacted with female students, possibly seeking a girlfriend. He faced allegations of threatening his teaching assistant position. Yeah, misery needs company, Boston. That's true. Okay, academic context. Kohberger was a PhD student in criminal justice at Washington State University, which prosecutors said aided his planning to cover the tracks. Like I said, guys, I feel like this is all part of his plan. I think the moment when he turned from chubby Kohberger and he started working out, I think that shortly before that period in his life is when he made the decision to become radical, militarized, and what he perceived as, I'm not going to take it anymore, right? But really, it's just in his head. It's the demons whispering to him. So he's going to fight back, right? I'm not going to live with this rejection. I'm not going to be this lonely, pathetic man. They'll know who I am. Well, so far his plan is working to a T. Inmate interview. A document detailed Kohberger's prison habits, but specifics were not publicly elaborated. I have those specifics. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let's see. We'll skip that. We've already covered that. We talked a little bit about Papa Roger. The investigative team seemed confident it's not him. If it's not him, to me, that tells me it is somebody that's close to the investigation. Friend, family member, a clerk, something along those lines. Where information might have been divulged during just within passing or peripherally. Police found no prior connection between him and the students, right? But he did a good job of covering his digital tracks. Why would he go through such great lengths to cover his tracks, right? That's where probably a lot of the story is hidden. We've given up on the Delphi case. We don't need to know why. We don't need to know the motive. He just showed up and ran into these girls, and, it was just an opportunistic lone wolf. Same thing here. Because law enforcement failed to find the answers, we just give up on it. Our hands are tied. But that's not the way we look at things around here. We have, as the public, we have way more power than the investigative team ever will. We can influence anything we want, guys, as a group, as a cohesive unit. If we make enough noise, we can get shit done. Fishy, what up? What's your opinion on everything that's kind of going on? Or what do you think is important to discuss? Post-gag order. That's what we're focusing on. Motive unknown. Cell phone data. Kohberger's phone pinged a cell tower near the victim's home 23 times between July and November of 2022 from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. So this dude is like a night stalker, is what he is. So who knows? He may have been in that home and like watching them sleep. We've covered cases where they do that shit. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know. It's like that's the only way these guys can get off. They get high off of it, that adrenaline. Sneaking in somebody's home and knowing that if they get caught, it could ruin their career, their life, possibly go to jail. They get off on that shit. Public and media reactions. Media push for transparency. A coalition of 24 media outlets, including the Associated Press, CNN, Idaho Statesman, successfully pushed for the gag order's removal. See? Got to make noise. Physical evidence and injuries. Kohberger's injuries. Post-gag order. Documents revealed Kohberger had scratches on his face and his knuckles around the time of the murders, noted during his December 30th, 2022 arrest interview. Victim injuries. Autopsy reports confirmed extensive stab wounds with Kernodle's defensive wounds indicating resistance. Okay, let me skip over here. All right, let's focus in on some of the stuff that the inmates that were locked up with him were saying. So we'll catch up on the chat and then we'll get into that. J-Ray, the shovel also could have been unrelated to the crime, or possibly the investigators just couldn't find a connection between the shovel and the crime. Yeah, you think they would have demanded all of this, during the plea negotiation. Let's go to Mountain Mama. Welcome in, Mountain Mama. I have said from the beginning that he had been in that home before. I feel like he has. Early on, I thought maybe he snuck into a party, hiding in plain sight. Like, oh, I'm just here, having a good time drinking. But really, he's in the corner and he's kind of just taking notes. He went from the trolling phase of from the BTK playbook to the stalking phase, which means he's already picked his house, he's already picked his victims, and maybe he wanted four, from the beginning. Did who live at home, Karen? What are you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? Fishy. I think he'll tell the full story based on him studying crime and everything. Yeah, I think it's part of it. I think that's part of the appeal, Fishy. I think you're right. Like he wanted to know how people felt and everything. Yeah, he wants to know. I don't know how to explain it. I think that he's curious about his own mind, maybe. Like he's like, he's like, yeah, I'm a monster. He's like, I'm just as curious as you guys are. So I wonder if he's curious about the normal person, like, hey, I'm so different. Um, you guys all look at me like I'm crazy, but I feel like I'm just living my best life. I don't know why I'm so dark hearted. These are I want to do evil. I want to do evil acts. Like, what makes you guys tick? Like, what the hell? Why do you guys seem so happy and joyful and colorful? It's like he just wants to understand why he's so different. Yeah, I wonder if he cares about what people think about him. I thought it was a snow shovel because it makes sense that you'd keep small shovel in your truck when you drive a sedan and live in the snow, unless there was some connection. Well, why would they assume that he was digging a hole with it? I don't know if you can dig with a snow shovel. Can you? Jackie, happy with the twist of acrylic Pores Plus. Could the H he took alter his mind? Did he take the H to calm the demons in his head? Yeah, he could have been self-medicating, Jackie. I mean, we're talking about a troubled guy here. I'm thinking deep-rooted trauma and a plethora of mother issues. Boston says Sleuth did a couple shows back, maybe a year, how Peeping Tom's voyeurs escalate into more and more violence. Yeah, when it comes to the Stephen McDaniel case, he would get more and more aggressive with his voyeurism. It went from videotaping from outside of the window to gaining access to the apartment with the maintenance key, becoming the maintenance man specifically so you can have access to your target. And then just watching them sleep. And that's how he ended up killing his victim. She woke up and saw him and said, "What are you doing?" Remember, for a lot of these impulsive type killers, they're not looking to just murder. Most times they're just looking to get some adrenaline, to get off, to torment. And sometimes the goal might be sexual. And then after they get what they want, they just don't want anybody to tell on them. And the fact that they could care less about a human life, they take the life. Like, hey, I killed her so she wouldn't tell on me. I killed him so he wouldn't tell on me. I killed them so they wouldn't tell on me. Everything is cause and effect, unless you just want to cause harm. There are some killers that just want to kill. They feel the urge for it. A literal bloodlust. But some sexual sadist, they just want to get off. The only way they can get off is sexual torture. You can't go around sexually torturing people and thinking that they're not going to go ahead and tell on you. And if you get caught for sexually torturing somebody, you're going to go to prison for a very long time. And typically it's a psychopath, sociopath that has those types of fantasies. And that's what we're dealing with here with Bryan Kohberger to a degree. All right. General demeanor and annoying behavior reported by inmates. Inmates describe Kohberger as annoying and a fucking weirdo. Damn, that's coming from maximum security inmates. Kohberger is creeping them out. One inmate speaking to investigators noted that Kohberger's behavior irritated others in the jail. Yeah, he might get fucked up. This inmate mentioned on surveillance video that he would have physically assaulted Kohberger, but refrained due to concerns about legal repercussions. So it sounds like people have access to him. That's good to hear. Can anybody say Jeffrey Dahmer? Kohberger's actions, such as moving around throughout the night, were particularly bothersome to a neighboring inmate, contributing to the perception of him as disruptive. Yeah, he's not done, guys. He's not done. This might just be phase one of whatever he's got up his sleeve. Obsessive hygiene habits. And maybe all you psychology majors out there can tell us what that's all about. Mother issues combined with hygiene issues. Like, what are we dealing with here? An inmate housed next to Kohberger reported that he exhibited unusual hygiene practices, including washing his hands dozens of times a day and spending extended periods up to 45 to 60 minutes in the showers. These long showers were noted as part of his strange routines in the jail. Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. I wonder if sitting under the shower is kind of soothing. Maybe it helps his anxiety or something. Hey, Alex, what's up? Thank you so much for the super sticker. How you doing? Feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. Boston, Sleuth. Oh, yeah, we already talked about that. Why didn't feel like he had the same level of empathy as other people? Yeah, most psychopaths do that, J. Ray. And that's why you had people like Rex Heuermann reaching out to the Happy Face Killer. Is because, and even in the note, he says, you're the only one that really knows what's going on in my mind. So they're drawn to each other, right? They're the same. They have a lot in common. They both are possessed by the devil, right? They're both soldiers in Satan's army. Yep, impulse control. Yeah, thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. All right, make sure you guys are voting on the poll. We're going to get out of here in a little bit. We're going to finish up on this part here. We still have a lot to cover, but not a whole lot of time. Okay, so we covered obsessive hygiene habits. Sleep patterns I thought were interesting, considering that, he was basically stalking the Idaho 4 late at night. The same inmate reported that Kohberger barely slept at night, staying awake almost all night and only taking naps during the day, right? He's nocturnal. This irregular sleep schedule added to the annoyance felt by others housed nearby. Right? He couldn't relate to anybody. He wasn't trying to make any friends. Even in prison, he's an animal. Interactions with family. Kohberger spent hours every day on a tablet video chatting with his mother, according to an inmate. One specific incident highlighted Kohberger's sensitivity during these calls. While an inmate was watching sports on TV and commented, "You suck," to a player on the television, Kohberger overheard, got up, pressed his face to the bars, and aggressively asked if the comment was directed at him or his mother. "You talking about my mama? I know you ain't talking about my mama." This reaction suggested a defensive or paranoid demeanor. "Yo mama's so fat, she fell over and broke her leg and gravy fell out." "Oh, no, you didn't." Conversational patterns. After the murders, Kohberger reportedly became more talkative. I heard the same thing about Richard Allen, engaging in conversations that felt like he wanted to vent. One inmate noted that these discussions seemed driven by a need to express himself, which was a shift from his usual behavior, right? He was probably preparing to confess. Another inmate described Kohberger as highly intelligent and said he would ask questions about the inmate's past criminal offenses, indicating an interest in criminal behavior or psychology consistent with his background as a criminology graduate student. An inmate commented to police that Kohberger's eyes tell a story. Remember, that's what we say all the time, like it's in the eyes, implying a belief in his guilt. This statement was made in the context of observing Kohberger's demeanor and behavior in jail. What's up, Frank? Let's go to a comment by Mountain Mama. This will be our 5-minute warning, guys. Mountain says, I think he hasn't spoken because he wants to hold power and attention. Absolutely. And that's what we're talking about with psychopathy, that whole cat and mouse thing. You know, he's not just going to lay it all out on the table so he has nothing, no cards to play. He's going to tell you that he has information that you really want, right? Well, I have information that you desire. He's going to want a quid pro quo, something in exchange. Did Kohberger live at home? No, he did not, Karen. He lived on the other side of the country. His folks lived in Pennsylvania. He lived in Washington, right across the border with the Idaho 4 house. Was not very far at all. All right, looks like we're all caught up on the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll play the music on out. Go visit my website, sleuthintuition.com. If you guys need to get a hold of me, you can always reach me at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And please hit the like button on the way out and consider becoming a member if you're not already. Big shout out to all my subscribers, members, and moderators. You guys rock. And if you guys want to support my channel, you can donate to my Venmo, my Cash App, my Zelle. But the best way to help, hit the like button, share the videos, and let's keep this train moving. I appreciate all your guys' support. Special thanks to Miss Dog Lover for a super chat. Miss Dog Lover for a super chat. And Miss Dog Lover for a super chat. And Alex, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you for your ongoing support, guys. Much love to all of you, the Sleuth Crew family. And maybe I'll catch you again later tonight just for an open discussion, call in, whatever, what have you. Thanks, J. Ray. There's your results.